A couple days ago, I decided to watch James Gunn's Superman. Sure, I've seen it a dozen times at least, and I even ranked it as my favorite film of 2025. However, I had just picked up the 4K Blu-ray, and I wanted to watch it with the director commentary. I put the disc into my PS5, hit play, and there was no commentary track. This totally and completely baffled me. Why? I know a commentary track exists, I've seen clips of it floating around on Twitter. Why not just include it on the Blu-ray? Hell, why not even include it on streaming? That got me thinking. Remember how awesome bonus features used to be? To be more specific and to avoid falling into the very simplistic trap of old thing good, new thing bad, I'm directly referring to DVDs from the 2000s and the early 2010s. Back then, there was so much love and affection from distributors that went into making physical media actually memorable. You would get hours of bonus features, commentary tracks, deleted scenes, alternate endings, and even playable video games in the case of Shrek 2 with its bizarre American Idol parody. I remember when I was a kid and my DVD copy of Star Wars had this feature where if you put it in your Xbox, you could play a demo of Lego Star Wars. Yes, that was a thing, I'm not even joking. Outside of media aimed squarely at children, this attitude carried over into DVDs of more prestigious flicks, where we got extras like Hearts of Darkness, Lost in La Mancha, and The Hamster Factor, and other Tales of 12 Monkeys. If anything, these all went beyond being just bonus features and were movies in their own right, sometimes more revealing than the feature itself. Going back to Star Wars for a second, the best of these was Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Not the movie, the bonus features, which has one of the all-time greatest behind-the-scenes documentaries. That's a movie I very much dislike, but having seen the in-depth process of how all these creative decisions were made makes me appreciate it regardless.
I may have gone too far in a few places.
So, what happened? Why are physical media releases so lackluster nowadays? Well, back then, DVDs were actually profitable. Substantial bonus features require time, coordination, and skilled labor. Commentaries need participants who are willing and available. Documentaries require researchers, editors, and even interview setups. Even menu design once involved bespoke animation, sound design, and UI planning. As disc sales dropped, studios stopped seeing a return on that investment. Bonus features became one of the easiest line items to cut because they don't directly affect the core film transfer. They're bonus features, that's the point. The second factor is rights and clearance. Older DVD-era releases were often produced when contracts were a little looser and supplemental material was treated as being promotional. As home media revenue declined, studios became more risk-averse. Music clearances, archival footage, and even interview appearances began to carry legal and financial complications that outweighed their perceived value. Rather than renegotiate, studios simply removed the material and chose to gut anything outside of the film, the subtitles, and maybe a Spanish dub.
Oh, you speak English?
No, just that first speech and this one explaining it.
You're kidding, right?
¿Qué?
Studios had a reason to invest back in the day, but now, in 2026, they really don't have that incentive anymore, since streaming is where it's at. Extras don't drive subscriptions to streaming services, and outside of YouTube algorithms, they don't reward long documentaries. Optional material competes with endless new content, and it loses every time. Trust me, I wish streaming services would include bonus features in an extra tab or something, but when extras do exist on streaming services, they are siloed, buried, and stripped of content because nobody watches them. And that's very deliberate by the studios involved. The idea of sitting with a film, then exploring its making of, doesn't fit a system that's built entirely around autoplay. Consume a product and then consume the next product. Rinse and repeat. Studios stopped treating films as works that needed interpretation and preservation, and bonus features once assumed curiosity and patience from the viewer, but modern distribution assumes speed and volume over everything else. Physical media used to say, "This movie matters," while streaming says, "Here's the next thing, go watch it." However, even before streaming took over, A decline was very noticeable with the inception of Blu-rays. And it's weird because Blu-rays promised better quality, but the philosophy didn't come back with it. Menu design followed the same trajectory. Early DVDs used menus as an extension of tone and theme, sometimes functioning as short films in their own right. A great example of this is the DVD release of the old G1 Transformers cartoon, which featured some awesome CGI menus where the camera is like whipping around this 3D model of Optimus Prime. It's awesome. Blu-ray initially continued this, and one of my favorite examples of this is for the Blu-ray release of Superbad, which had Michael Cera dancing for 1 hour straight. It's a great gag, especially when you're waiting for it to loop and then it just never does. They were able to do this because they found out that Blu-ray had way more storage capacity than a DVD, so Seth Rogen and Michael Cera were like, let's just dance for an hour and see if anyone notices. But unfortunately, as discs became seen as utilitarian delivery systems, menus were reduced to static screens or just generic templates. This has been going on for years too, well over a decade in fact. I vividly remember getting a Blu-ray copy of the 2014 Gareth Edwards Godzilla movie, and being so hyped as a 12-year-old kid. For months, I fantasized about the menus and the bonus features, and when I finally put the disc in, it was a generic menu with almost no bonus features. Studios optimized for faster loading times and lower authoring costs, not aesthetic identity. On top of that too, many Blu-rays recycled old DVD features or just dropped them entirely. The expectation that physical media should act as the definitive version of a film that you actually owned completely disappeared. And so, as a result, the disc became a delivery mechanism and not an actual curated experience for people to enjoy. The fact that labels like the Criterion Collection, Arrow Video, and Shout Factory still produce substantial bonus features proves that that appetite never vanished. Those releases feel exceptional now because they preserve a philosophy that the industry abandoned. Films are worth studying, not just consuming and then moving on to the next thing. But it's just a shame that we have to pay like $25 to $50 for a product that's actually worth using instead of the mass-produced releases that are easily found in your local Walmart. Don't get me wrong, that's not a diss towards those labels. I actively collect releases from all three, but I fully understand that they have to charge more due to all the licensing involved. It's just, you think back and you're like, man, I could have bought a DVD with all this stuff on it for like $10 back in the day. Remember how I was raving about how awesome that Phantom Menace documentary was? Cameras are present during meetings, rehearsals, and problem-solving sessions. Long stretches are very mundane where decisions stall, deadlines loom, and George Lucas expresses doubt. Everyone just looks exhausted.
I may have gone too far in a few places.
The film never editorializes or reassures the viewer. It instead observes the process as it unfolds, including all the stress, the uncertainty, and the creative fatigue. And I think that documentary works because it never tries to control the narrative. It allows discomfort to exist on screen. It shows how expectations, technology, time pressure, and human limits shape a movie long before an audience ever even sees it. Whether you like The Phantom Menace or not is irrelevant. The extra gives context, labor, and reality. It respects the viewer's ability to draw conclusions on their own. Now compare that approach to the Blu-ray extras for Star Wars: The Last Jedi. Again, if you like that movie, it doesn't matter. Despite vastly more storage capacity on a Blu-ray compared to a DVD, the material is thinner and far more restrictive. Most features consist of cast and crew speaking directly to the camera in controlled environments. The language is polished and repetitive. Collaboration is praised, risks are framed as successes, challenges are mentioned only in abstract terms, nothing is allowed to sit uncomfortably, and ultimately, there is no sustained observation of the process, and there's no sense of daily reality. Let's be honest here. These are not making-ofs or even bonus features. This is propaganda, on the same level as a North Korean citizen talking about how much they love their country. It's so obvious everyone involved is contractually obligated to just say empty praise about the project they just did so they can move on and get paid. And again, this has nothing to do with the quality of either film. In fact, I kind of despise both movies, but seeing the brutal truth of how one was made and seeing a sugar-coated lie about the other makes me prefer The Phantom Menace over the other for that very reason. Modern physical media no longer assumes curiosity from the viewer, as discs are treated as endpoints as opposed to spaces for exploration, where me as a little kid could go through and watch the bonus features and learn what a storyboard is, learn how a script is written, how a movie is shot and edited. Instead, we just get ownership without any meaningful engagement. It's, thanks for buying our product. Buy the next one.
Don't ask questions. Just consume product and then get excited for next product.
And with all that out of the way, I'm Cole McCormick. You're watching Firewood Media. If you like classic movies like I do, feel free to check out some of my other videos here on the channel. My recent video on Turner Classic Movies blew up. Like, it performed way better than I expected, and the positive reception to that video is insanely heartwarming. So, sincerely, thank you all for the love and the comments on that one. I also want to give another big thank you to the channel members who support me and everything that I produce. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Peace out.